good at killing people. I want to be a robot.
Hey everyone, Metagross Freak here with a Borderlands MOC. Obviously this is Wilhelm the Enforcer, and if you want to make your own Wilhelm MOC, you can follow my instructions. So let's go!
Dream big, little loader.
Alright, so building your Wilhelm is kind of an offshoot of your traditional Hero Factory build. For one, you're going to need 2 Hero Factory feet in Hyperion Yellow. I use 2 Toametru legs in Hyperion Yellow as well. And rather than use a traditional thigh piece like this one, I instead use 2 double, socket joint ones for the thighs. And that's because there are ball joints on the knees. You'll need, instead of a standard Hero Factory torso, you'll need one that has 2 ball joints on the shoulders, and you'll need a gunmetal gray Hero Factory chest plate. You can use a silver one if you want, but I'm using a gunmetal one because Wilhelm is mostly, for the most part, black and yellow. I'm using 2 thigh pieces and 2 arms with the ball joint piece at the wrist. Now, because Wilhelm has a robot eye that glows blue, I'm using a blue Hero Factory head. Plus, with the large chin, it kind of resembles his beard. Even has the little stripe. I'm also using a telescopic robot eye for his headpiece. You can use other headpieces if you want, but this is what I'm choosing. And then just to round it out, I'm using a Hyperion Yellow helmet. Technically, having the helmet resembles more his Borderlands 2 appearance, but I was going for as accurate to the character of Wilhelm as I can. So to start it off, you can just snap your knees and legs together. So you have one leg. And 2 legs. And of course you can just put your head together normally. Which, it's not a perfect look, but it does resemble Wilhelm in kind of his Borderlands 2 form, which is close enough for what I wanted to do with the MOC. Now that you have the main limbs, you can just put it all together, and you'll have, for the most part, your Wilhelm, and the rest of it is mostly just customization. And there you go. There's a lovely little Wilhelm to, doesn't really fit on the camera. There's a Wilhelm for you to enjoy. Now it's time to add stuff to customize it to make him more accurate to what you want.
All powered up. Let's dance.
Depending on what type of Wilhelm you want, you have 2 different options for leg customizations. If you just want to go with a normal, more humanoid Wilhelm, you can use 2 of these large yellow plates and simply attach them to the legs on the front with the whole pieces up near my fingers like I have. However, if you want to go for the Cyborg Wilhelm that has the leg attachments, I recommend using these gold plate pieces and the addition of these leg cuff pieces. These were mostly available during the Glatorian era and the first wave of Hero Factory, and they're held on using these simple half plug, half studs. I'm going to be using Cyborg Wilhelm, and so I'm going to be using the gold and the ankle pieces. As you can see, the stud just goes at the lowest piece. These plug in, and you have a nice amount of ankle armor. And there you go for leg customization.
Termination protocols activated.
While having the gunmetal armor on Wilhelm's chest is a nice addition and adds more to his overall color scheme, you kind of need the chest armor that Wilhelm has. Normally, if you're planning on going for a normal Wilhelm, you can go for a Hyperion yellow piece, which looks very nice. However, if you're going for the more Cyborg Wilhelm look, I recommend a gold piece, which, while it does stand out a little bit from the yellow helmet right above it, still looks really nice. I would especially recommend using it if you plan on going for the termination protocols. Regardless of which piece you pick, I chose to use a blue power core piece, which is just a normal, Hero Factory power core from 2.0 and onward, and basically it just attaches to the front of a normal armor chest piece, and I'm using this in place of the class mod. Now, technically, you can change it to whatever color is closest to the class mod you want, considering the fact that the Celestial Enforcer is gold with kind of a clearish blue in the middle. That's even more evidence of why gold might be a good idea. I simply just attach it to the front of Wilhelm's chest, and, well, that part's done.
Systems online. Don't slow me down.
You have a couple different options for when you're armoring up the arms. Regardless of whether you have a Cyborg Wilhelm or a more human Wilhelm, you're going to, for a normal arm, need your arm piece, a yellow Hero Factory / Glatorian hand, one of these large, I call them large armor or shield blocker, kind of pauldron-y pieces with the holes facing up. And then if you want wrist armor, you can put one of these small Hyperion yellow pieces down like that, though I think that's a little heavily armored. If you want to leave Wilhelm a little gruff, making it look like he's rolled up his sleeves or something, you can just leave this bare, which is what I choose to do. However, if you want to do a Cyborg Wilhelm, rather than making two of these, you can just add a Cyborg arm. To do that, you'll need 4 of these little mini pieces, these little arm pieces. These were originally created for Exoforce, for the robots. However, you don't have to use it for that, obviously. Hero Factory used them for weapon attachments of all sorts, and I believe they were in a couple of the later sets, as well as some Star Wars sets, and it's pretty easy to come by pieces like this. I have probably like 10 of them. However, you're going to need some of these hand pieces. I believe these were primarily released in the Hero Factory Savage Jungle series. Now, if you can find them in yellow, you're welcome to use them in yellow. I only have them in gold, and so that's why I use them in gold. You're going to need 2 of them, one for the pauldron or shoulder armor, and one for the robot hand, which Wilhelm uses when he's using his rocket punch. To make the actual hand, you just take your 4 little robot arm pieces and snap them on. Now, I personally choose to have all of them facing downward. However, if you want one of them to be a thumb on the end, you can just flip it around. So in that case, it'd probably be this one. You'd flip around because it's his left hand that's the robot arm. You pop that onto your ball joint. Pop that on to your shoulder, and then you can add these lovely, lovely robot arms, or lovely robot arm and human arm, or if you decide the 2 human arms onto your Wilhelm figure. Obviously, you don't want your Wilhelm to suffocate in the vacuum of space, and so to make a Oz kit, or as close to an Oz kit as I can do, I took one of these little jet booster pieces from, actually you can get them from a number of different sets. However, the first sets I saw them in were from the Fantoka and Mystica sets in one of Bionicle's last years. You can take one of these combination peg axles, simply plug it in, and then on Wilhelm's back, because it goes on his left shoulder, just pop it in right there. And because of the little groove right here, it fits right in and doesn't really buckle that much. Now it will wiggle a little bit, but it's okay.
Sweet Sweet, sweet loot.
Assuming you don't want your Wilhelm to go into battle empty-handed, you can make a gun fairly easily using one of these Hero Factory blasters that came out in the 2.0 series, and I believe they did release them a couple times in later series. Because lasers are Wilhelm's forte, I think this is probably the best piece to use for a gun, which you can easily just pop right into his hand. I choose to use, depending on what element you want his weapon to be, whether it be incendiary, corrosive, shock, whatever, you can use different of these translucent lightsaber pieces and just slip them in easily. Because I really like using shock on Wilhelm, it takes care of shields in almost an instant, and if I have my my laser cannon up, I can basically melt people in 2 or 3 shots. I'm using this electric blue piece, and I just slide it right in, and there you go. Wilhelm's got a electric laser ready to take on shielded enemies.
Damn, that's freezing.
2 new gameplay elements that were put into pre-sequel, of course, were the slams and cryo-elemental damage, and so I thought, what a good way to represent both of them by having a cryo-slam. If you want to add a cryo-slam to any Wilhelm, or to any MOC for that matter, you need, of course, your leg with preferably the 2, and with the studs on the bottom. You're going to need one of these little axle connector pieces, 2 double plugs, and if you want to use a cryo one, you're going to need these 2 shield pieces, these 2 icicle shields. These came in the Glatorian line with Agori Metis and Glatorian Gelu. They're the same color, and they make kind of a cool little shield if you put them together like that, but we need them to be slightly bigger so it fits on the Wilhelm foot. So plugging in all your pieces like this, there you go, you have an ice slam, which you can put in either way you want. You can either put it facing forward like this. Oops, I pushed my leg forward a little too far. You put it like that. They do have a little bit of an issue in balancing in the back. Or you can pop it in like this, and while you will have an issue with balance in the front, you have lots of balance in the back. You don't have to worry about it falling over backwards. So it really depends on how you put the other leg. I recommend having the non-slam leg be perfectly straight out, meanwhile the slam leg being bent just a little bit. I know it's difficult to see, but this leg is just a little bit bent. Bend it forward, make him kneel a little bit, that way they're roughly level on the body.
Hey, buddy! I love this guy!
If you're going for a Cyborg Wilhelm, you might want his Vengeance Cannon. The Vengeance Cannon is actually pretty easy to build. It's basically just your standard Zammer launcher kind of device. I use one of these little wrist pieces, another one with the ball, a gold piece for armor, a Zammer, not a Zammer, one of these little launcher claw pieces. I believe these first came out with the Glatorian series. One of these cannon launcher pieces that first came out in Hero Factory 3.0. Any little hand piece, doesn't matter what color it is, though it should probably blend in with the theme. You can use black or white or brown or green or whatever the color you want. I'm personally using a silver just because. You're gonna need 2 of these short little axles. You can use black or red. I'm using red just because it looks like the gun is glowing a little bit. And then you're gonna need any little ball. I'm using this one in particular because it has red and yellow, so it looks more like the Vengeance Cannon's Incendiary Blast, and I just have the swirled fiery part sticking out in the front. To put it together, it's really simple. Just pop those together. And for the gun, just take your little hand connector piece, put red axles on both sides, put your I guess you could call it a little hook piece in, facing in with the scoop facing inward. Place the blaster piece on top. The ball inside, see, it looks kind of like it's ready to fire a large incendiary blast. And of course, to launch it, you just have to squeeze these two pieces together. And you just have to turn your cannon piece to the side, plugging it in like so. You can't have it going perfectly flat on flat because it won't exactly fit properly, because it doesn't really bend well like that. You can't get great angles, but because it's going to be going over the shoulder, you can simply just put it to the side like that and then have it be bending down. So there you go. You've got a shoulder cannon for Wilhelm.
All systems are a go!
Attaching your Vengeance cannon is really easy, especially since you already have one of these shoulder sockets covered, so you only really have one other to go. A little bit of sarcastic humor there. Basically, the Vengeance cannon hooks on here and hangs over Wilhelm's left shoulder. You might need to tilt the head a little bit, or maybe just give it a little bit of wiggle room, but you know, it's not going to be a perfect right angle, but there you go. There's it from the back. There's it from the front. And there you go. You've got yourself a Vengeance cannon on Wilhelm. If you want to pose him so that it folds up, you can simply just try to hook it around or whatever. There you go. Because normally it hooks over the shoulder like this. However, if you just kind of, fold it up, mess with some pieces, fold it up like that, it folds up pretty well. Here's it from the front. Obviously, it's not a perfect hide. He's got, basically a backpack on him. But yeah, it folds up pretty nicely.
Upgrade time!
And there you have it. This is my Hero Factory build for Wilhelm the Enforcer, complete with, his leg upgrades, a cryo slam, his robot punching fist, his termination protocol power core / class mod, a laser rifle, whatever you want to call that, an Oz kit, and a deployable Vengeance cannon that can be folded away. Let me just show you now again how that looks folded up. As you can see, it definitely folds up behind the back like it normally does, and it looks a little bulky from the back though, just because this is a larger gun piece, but it's easily deployable by flipping and then just resting it kind of a little bit over the shoulder. There you go. So I hope you liked this how to build Wilhelm MOC video. If you want to see other Borderlands characters, leave a comment below and I'll see what I can do. Until next time, I'm MetaGrossFreak, and have a good one.